Good morning, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day. Yes, it is February 14th, 2018. And my name is Jennifer, and I am here to talk to you about the debt-free journey that my husband and I have embarked on as of February 1st of this year. So, I'm actually sitting in my car. It's a beautiful winter morning in the Midwest. I live in an area called the Quad Cities. It's right on the Iowa-Illinois border on the Mississippi River. And I'm about to go into work for the day. I am a human resources manager. I've been doing that. My career is 20 years long now. And I and my family are in just a heap of debt. And so we decided that the best way to be accountable is to document our journey and look back on what we're doing well, what we're not doing well, and be accountable to one another through video, to be accountable to you, to anyone who finds us and is looking for a community, a partnership, an accountability partner, whatever you want to call it, to try to get through this crazy thing called debt and getting control of our financial lives again. So to give you a little bit of background, the point of this video is to introduce ourselves and to give you a little bit of background on how we got here and what set this off in January of 2018. So my husband is Matt, and we have been married for 8 years this year. We've been together for 10. But I had started down a debt-free journey actually prior to meeting him. I was 35 years old and had never been married and didn't have any kids when I met my husband, who had 4 kids and had some marriages under his belt. We like to joke and say third time's the charm for him and for me. So we're pretty excited about that. Things are going well 8 years in. So we don't hate each other, so that's always a good thing. Anyhow, so. Oh, and sorry that you're seeing my visor over here in the corner. The problem is I'm sitting outside and the sun is really bright, and I couldn't get it out of the frame without putting this ugly visor down. So there you go. Now you get to meet my garage remote right here. So exciting times. So, and it's driving me nuts that it's crooked. So that's what you have to look forward to during our video, our vlog, if you will. So anyhow, going back in time to before I met my husband, I was a single woman who, after college, I'm from a really small town in southeast Iowa. I went to Western Illinois University in Macomb, Illinois, and then I moved to Chicago and lived my whole entire 20s up there. And 9/11 happened in 2001, and boy, that was a big eye-opener. I was missing my family. And anyway, and then that happened, and I just decided it was a good time I needed to be making a move in my career anyway, and so I decided to relocate home. Home was anywhere within like an hour and a half of where I grew up. And so I ended up in the Quad Cities. And when I moved here, my parents, actually, I am an only child biologically. I do have a sister that I refer to. She is my best friend that I've known since I was 5. And she lived with us when we were in high school. And the sister I've never had. The only thing that we don't have is the blood relation. So her name is Donna, and she and her family are amazing. And I was visiting them. They live in the Des Moines, Iowa area. And I was visiting them in 2004. And my brother-in-law had this book laying on the counter, and it was called The Total Money Makeover. And for those of you who know anything about that, you know that's from Dave Ramsey. And so he let me borrow that book. We talked about it over the weekend. Let me borrow it. I brought it home, read it. A few months later, I just decided that I needed to get some things under control, because when I moved 16 years ago next month to where I am now, I cashed out my 401k so that I could buy the house and afford that. I had to get all of my debts paid off in order for that to work, because I took a 33% pay cut where there was only really about a 20% difference in the cost of living. So, it was the spring of 2002, and things were not looking good in this very much smaller metro area. The odds of me being able to continue my career in human resources were not good. And when I found this job, it was a perfect fit. It was literally doing the exact same thing for the exact same kind of company that I was doing in Chicago. And so I took that. I took that huge pay cut so that I could stay in the career that I loved. And I've now been in it for 20 years. I'd been in it for 4.5 at that point. So anyhow, it was a great move. Buying a house was not something I considered. My parents were the ones who helped me and convinced me that this would be a good thing. And boy, was it ever. I'm so glad I did it. Being a homeowner is challenging in many ways, but it is very, very rewarding. And so I'm so, so glad that I did that. So I'm debt-free. I own my home. I'm in a career and a place that 16 years later, I'm still there. So I didn't know that at the time, but I was in a pretty steady place. And I got tangled up in credit cards again. And the reason for that is because I am a spender by nature. In our relationship, my husband and I are both spenders, but we do it for different reasons. So if you know the Dave Ramsey, if you know his plan and his philosophies, in every relationship, there's a nerd and there's a free spirit. And I am absolutely that nerd. I'm not even, I totally own it. I am the nerd. I've had a spreadsheet since long before I ever heard of Dave Ramsey. And so my husband is a free spirit by nature. He just is much more free spirited than I am. But he also, like me, is an emotional spender. And so that's a challenge. Two areas that I struggle with in my life is eating and spending. And those are both very emotional things for me. And while I spend money for very different reasons than my husband does, I do it in different ways. We both obviously have gotten us into a place that we are not comfortable with anymore. So here we are. We have, let me go back to in 2004. I read the book. I decided I'm going to be done with this, and I cut up all my credit cards. And I kid you not, the month after I did that, my boiler broke. It broke down and had to be replaced in my home. So I lived in a home that had heated floors and a boiler system. No furnace, folks. This is a boiler. Boilers are expensive. They're much more expensive than furnaces. And I just cut up all my credit cards and I'm not making much money. And it's October in the Midwest. I don't have a choice. I have to get a new boiler. So thank God for my parents. They, being an only child, they made that choice. They made that decision when I was a baby to not have any more children. And man, have I ever benefited. It was a financial decision for them. And boy, they are in a great place. While they feel uncomfortable because they put pressure on themselves, they are really in a great place in their retirement. And they taught me all the things I need to know, but that didn't matter. I was valedictorian of my high school class, and I graduated with honors I was magna cum laude in college, but none of that matters if you can't get control over your spending. So Mom and Dad came to the rescue, loaned me the money that I ended up paying back over the next couple of years. So I get my new boiler. I'm well on my way. I had consolidated my credit cards right before I discovered this. I consolidated my credit cards and had one big payment. And while I wasn't gazelle intense, I was paying cash for everything, including I remodeled my bathroom in the house. And I think that cost about $3,000. And somewhere and along the way, I also threw a party for my parents' 40th wedding anniversary that cost about $3,000. It was a pretty big party. And did that all myself and paid cash for all of that. So while I didn't get my debt paid down, I was able to do things that were important to me in my life, and I was making progress. And I met my husband in 2007, and that anniversary party was in 2008, by the way. So I was still doing all of that. Him coming along is not why I fell into my old ways. It's not why I started getting credit cards. I started getting credit cards again because I just lost track of what I was doing and why I was doing it. And it is harder when you're by yourself. It's difficult. It's difficult to do this. But when you're by yourself, it's a lot easier to control where your money goes. You don't have to worry about what anybody else is doing. And so that to me was a huge benefit. And now that I am married and have a family and I'm trying to do this again, holy cow, it is a whole other ballgame when you've got other people that are spending that money and that need the money. And so, boy, what a difference a few years makes. But my husband and I, we got married. It was after we got engaged that I really went nuts. And I just told myself I was going to be able to figure it out next month or in 6 months or whenever. And then the economy tanked. And then, I mean, it was just one thing after another. It's why Dave has the philosophies and teaches what he teaches, is because people do stupid stuff like all of these things I'm describing to you. Fast forward 10 years. We've been together for 10 years and we have a mountain of debt. We, between the two of us, have about $250,000 in debt. Only about 50 of that is student loans, and that's all my husband's, because when the economy tanked and his job hours were cut so much, we decided it's a good time for you to go to school. You've always wanted to do that, so let's do it. So he did that. He went to school from 2009 to 2013, got a bachelor's degree in management with a minor in human resources, hoping to be able to start a career in HR because he just really has always liked that, or in management, whatever. And came out with student loans that we lived on while he was going to school. We knew better and we did it anyway. And here we are 4 years later after graduation, and we have not, now he's deferred because of, the dependence that he has and that kind of thing. And he does not have to pay, and we can't pay. We couldn't pay even if we wanted to pay, because we are not right now at a point where we can do that. And so that interest is building up every month and every month. And we still have all this other debt sitting out there. And by the way, that $250 does not include our house. That is a whole other ballgame. That's I think it's $98,000 or something like that we owe on it. So yeah, we have some challenges ahead of us. And I'll do another video that will show exactly where all of this is at, so that you can see. The goal here is that we are going to be as transparent as possible. We want to be honest with ourselves, and through that, we'll be honest with you, our viewers. And, there's no sense in lying to ourselves anymore, because we really hit a tipping point last summer, and I have just been sitting on this, honestly, folks, for the first time in my 45 years. I've been an adult paying bills for 25 years. And for the first time, starting last summer, I have not been able to pay all of our debt every month. We actually have not been paying bills, and that mortifies me. The phone calls that we're getting, all those things. Like when I went through Financial Peace University, I've been through it like 3 times over the years. Never did that ever apply to me. And now I'm that person. And my husband had been through that before, and so it just doesn't affect him the way that it does me. In January last month, I basically kind of lost it. I went to my husband in tears and said, I cannot do this anymore. We have got to stop this madness. Our spending is out of control. We have to get control of it. And I'm starting over with Dave Ramsey. So the good news is, if you know anything about him and his teachings, there are 7 baby steps. And the first one is to get a baby emergency fund of $1,000 in place. And so I happened to look at all of our savings accounts out there, and holy cow, we had enough. When I moved them all into one place, we had $500 right away in our emergency fund. Then I had an expense check from the end of 2017 sitting in my purse. I had been hiding it because I didn't know what to do with it. I would have loved to go shopping with it, but I couldn't think of anything important enough to buy with it that I wouldn't feel bad about. nobody needed anything really badly in the family. And I was like, what if we need it? We have 2 old cars. What if we need it? What if a car breaks down? What if this? What if that? I was terrified, so I couldn't spend it. Can you imagine that? I'm a spender. I'm so terrified I can't spend it. That tells, I mean, I didn't know it at the time, but that speaks volumes to where I was. So thank goodness I had that in my purse, because now we have an $850 emergency fund in like 2 days. So as of today, we have $940 in there. And of course, we will be at $1,000 very soon. So that will move us into baby step 2. And right now, since we aren't paying minimums on everything, I haven't really figured that plan out yet. Not exactly sure what that's all going to look like. I mean, I know that we need to start with the smallest to the largest and all of that good stuff, but I have it all identified. I just am kind of overwhelmed by it. So we'll be working through that with you guys as we try to figure out what's going on. Matt will be joining me for these videos. Primarily, you're probably going to see me, but Matt will be around at different times and will be participating. He has shown an interest in that. The thing that we really need to focus on as a married couple is to try to understand exactly what's happening, why we're doing the things that we're doing, and how we can improve them. And already I'm using the Every Dollar app, and I can see where we have problems. So the whole thing about getting a budget, writing it down, and giving every dollar a name is so important. And for those of you that are watching this that don't have any idea what I'm talking about, you can go Google Dave Ramsey anytime and find out about his baby steps. There are 7 of them. And baby step 2 is the debt snowball, where you are paying down all of your debt. You're getting rid of it. And so he's got a class called Financial Peace University. I'll talk about that another time. And he has tons of followers. I'm not the only person out here. I'm doing this because I watched others before me. The 2 that I've been following most closely, who have really inspired me, come from very different places, not only geographically, but they just have very different lives. And one is Budget Girl, and she is a single young lady who has paid off all of her debt, and on a very, very small income. And so that's her story. And then I believe she's in baby step 3 now, which is building your fully funded emergency fund. And then also our life on a budget. This is a Canadian family of 4, and they have their own challenges, different from what Budget Girl experiences, but they both follow the Dave Ramsey philosophy, and they stick to it, and they're both debt free. That family and Budget Girl are debt free because of these teachings, and because of their work, their activity. So they're great to follow, and there's tons more out there. They talk about others that I haven't even had time to follow yet, because I'm still trying to get through these 2 YouTubers' journeys. So anyhow, if you're out here and you have found me, it's because you're looking for some guidance. You're looking for some help. You're looking for support. You need a community. You need something, or you wouldn't have been here. You wouldn't have found me. So keep that in mind. You have to be ready. And when you're ready, we'll be here. Whether it's me or someone else out here, we're going to be here to help you. And, we're really looking forward to sharing this journey between ourselves, obviously, but also to hear what others have to say about our journey, because we are going to make mistakes. Everybody does. You can have the best plan in the world and still trip up and make a mistake. And there's always tomorrow. And so you can't, what I've decided is that I can't keep focusing on what is going on, what's already happened. Need to focus on what we're going to do going forward. So that's where we are. We're here. We're going to come up with a really cool name for this. Maybe I've done that by the time I've posted this video, but as of right now, we haven't really figured it out. So really looking forward to this journey with you, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for watching. And so we'll see you next time.